I was just about to say, no, I was just about to say, you know, want to talk about professional because now you are like a full blown voice actor now.
Yes, I've been
So
paid. That makes me professional instead
that
of just amateur.
that is awesome. And you got your booth and your happening equipment. We're like
Yeah.
almost legit over here.
So it's actually fairly effective. I
Yeah.
finished setting it up yesterday.
Mhm.
Basically, I bought the PVC pipes pre-cut, and that was give me a second. That
So
was the expensive part, getting them pre-cut.
okay.
But I no longer have a van, so in order to get the PVC pipes here, even though I could get them from Home Depot,
Mhm.
they they only sold them in either 2 foot length or 10,
Ah,
and they're my that won't fit into my car.
you don't have like a sawzall or
They didn't have saws there to cut it for you to bring
oh,
back.
that's what I'm saying. You don't have like a sawzall or something or a saw you can cut your PVC with or stick it out the
I
window.
bought one, so
Okay.
no, I didn't have one there,
All right.
and I wasn't about to start practicing on it in the parking lot.
Aha. I got
Uh,
you.
so what I did was I ordered them pre-ordered from vocalbooth2go.com. Hopefully, one of our sponsors coming up,
Absolutely.
and and they charge you for it, but you save so much time by buying it all pre-cut because there's all these joiners and
Yeah.
the the elbow connectors and the trifecta protect connectors and things. And
Yeah. Well, it's
this is
pretty
this is a
awesome.
large one too.
Pretty awesome little booth you got going on now. The
Thank
acoustics,
you.
I'm sure, are great. Like I said, I'm in a corner in my basement where I keep my
Well,
comics and my
that's where I was 2 days ago.
yeah,
I'm still in the same corner in the same basement. It's just now it's a little more evenly muffled.
yeah. Now it's legit. Now it's professional.
Yeah,
So
I think so. And
thanks
I've
for
been
listening.
recording.
Yeah, thanks for listening, Cube Nerds. Thanks for sticking with us because it's our first episode in like 2 years probably. We haven't even seen each other around.
Yes, May of 2019, I think, was the
Yep.
last episode.
So
Something like that.
you are Scott, the know-it-all employee. I'm Mike, the model
Yes,
employee. No more secrecy and all that kind of crap. It's a different day and age. I have a podcast.
that's true.
That's it. I won't.
And
Yeah, I'll try to tone it
so
down a little.
we're only missing one of our uh, corners of the triangle.
Yeah, the casual employee.
Yes,
Yeah, Bert who
who's
wants really no part of
Bert?
all this hoopla.
Well, Bert has a family to look after, and time with them over time with our myriads of listeners. He also doesn't understand why he's so interesting.
Well, that's what like
Uh,
I didn't plan this at all. It was 8:15, I'm pretty sure, when my kids fell asleep and my wife ended up falling asleep. She's awake now though, I think. But I was like, look, I'm gonna call Scott. Everybody's asleep. My daughter's asleep right next to her because she'd be crying if we, she was moving
when
to
my kids were the age of yours, that's where I got my free time.
yeah.
My kids would fall asleep, and my wife would fall asleep, getting them to sleep.
It's
And then
tough
they'd
though,
all
man.
fall asleep in a pile. And that's when I used to play computer games.
Yeah.
Once they got older and stopped whatever they were doing, they were able to be up a little bit later and they're like, had to do homework.
Hmm.
And like, Dad's playing games. I stopped right there and I'm like, I'm not going to be that dad. I don't want to be the guy who's playing games while their kids are trying to do the homework instead of helping
Yeah.
them with the homework. And
Yeah.
I haven't really returned to games since then. I could have,
It's been a
um, you
real
know,
long time since I've played a game. I yeah, my Xbox 360 was the last thing I was playing. But now I'm hooked on my phone. I play Call of Duty on my phone like constantly. I'm addicted to it. It's bad news. But but I mean, like i- it's tough because like at night I'm shot.
yeah.
I mean, like I should be writing or like doing this or editing podcasts, whatever. I'm so tired. Like I could be right behind him, 9 o'clock at night, and they're asleep. I could be right behind him. I could be throwing on lock and key and then falling asleep halfway through the first episode. That's
It
exactly
depends what
yeah.
time you get up. Are you still working remote?
Oh yeah. Yes.
So one thing we should remind our viewers is that we're just still into the era after the pandemic, where it's sort of tailing off,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Last time you listened
And
to us, we were talking and we were complaining about The Office, and
that's
then now
right.
here we are in a post-COVID world where who goes to the office anymore?
Well, our former company we used to work for, they're reeling them all back in.
Yeah.
and starting to penalize people who aren't, and they're
They
giving them
actually,
extensions through the end of the year. And but after that, you could see, big corporate brother coming down and wanting to keep a closer eye on what's going on.
which is huge because my company productivity was high while we were home. So they had no problem with folks working from home. I'm pretty sure they still don't. They're in no rush to get people back to the office, even though they have opened up the office, and some people are happy to be back. But they very much were in no rush to get people back. It's okay if folks work from home as long as your productivity is up. It's okay. Plus, we've got employees all over the place. However, the other company, they're losing people. Somebody just joined my company who worked there and said that after they were renewing leases, I had to get out of there. It was just so disrespectful to employees, and they just felt so hurt that the
And
company
by
cared so
leases, you
little about
mean their like contractor status?
No, I guess renewing leases on the buildings that they had.
Oh, the real estate. Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Um, the building we first worked at is no longer an ADP building.
Oh, really?
That's correct.
Oh.
It's gone.
Hmm.
And
But yeah. So, but yeah, and
that's right.
that's
I
that's
mentioned the company. It
that's
doesn't matter, but
well, let's not
that
let's
was
let's glance over it.
yeah,
I mean, but again, that's the company we used to work for.
that's
But
true.
yeah, but that affected a lot of people, seeing the company react that way. And so
Yes.
yeah, so they lost a lot of people that way. And while other companies were laying people off, my company was hiring because got lucky and we were in a very big growing
I saw that,
phase. And we're
and I saw
progressive.
that they're still growing.
That's how you
I
got to
even
be.
have seen former people that we used to work with coming on board that I didn't even know about. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting to see that happening.
I mean, it goes across the board, like with anything, with restaurants, with any companies during COVID, you got to adapt. All the
So
restaurants I
you're
made,
not seeing it at your company? I know some people are calling this the Great Resignation, where people have afforded just enough money and I guess peace of mind in order to reevaluate where they're going forward in life, and leaving a job that hasn't treated them very well, or that they've been wondering if they still wanted to work at or not.
not at my
Not
company. I have not
not your
seen a lot of
company.
folks leave. I mean, I understand it because you've got all this time and free time to do your own thing and make something out of it, which is what I try to do. But I do not see a lot of people leaving. I definitely do not. So that's a good thing as far as the company goes. But
Yes.
but yeah, as far as yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of people leave. People are happy. It's a great company to work for, very progressive company, and they treat their employees very well. While I do
Okay.
not like the work I do, I'm kind of sick of it and burnt out as par for the course. I love the company itself. The company's very good to me and good to the employees.
Okay.
So that's a good thing to have. But but like I was saying, now, like even the restaurants by me when COVID hit, they were doing delivery places that weren't doing delivery started doing delivery. They were
Yes.
you could get drinks, you could get cocktails to go. They were doing anything just to make
Really?
more money and adapt, which is what you should have been doing. And my company was no different. People needed to work from home. I can do my whole job on my phone, which is ridiculous. All my apps I can do on my phone. Salesforce, all that stuff, right through my phone. It's crazy. So I can do my job from anywhere. But
Goodness. I
you
didn't
got to
know
do this.
Salesforce was.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to go near Salesforce on my phone. They made it that convenient to work on.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
You also are not familiar with using cases through Salesforce because the other
That's
companies
correct.
use them
We did use them to some extent in the old company,
a little
though.
bit. Yeah, people were
That
pushing
had been
away.
moved in, especially with database creation and
Mm.
tying that kind of thing in with sales records.
Yeah. So,
So,
but speaking of that, and speaking of changes and all the different things that happened
yeah.
with COVID, let's hear about your journey because you've had one since even just pre-pandemic to afterwards. You're doing something
Yes.
you wanted to do.
Well, the
Throwing this out.
pandemic started in 2020, but for me, unfortunately, it started in 2019 is when the bad year started. So
Yeah.
before 2020, I was laid off from our former company,
Mhm.
and they laid off everybody in our department from the building we were currently working in. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like anybody singled me out or something.
That was
Um,
pre-COVID, like you just said too, right?
yes, it was
That
pre-COVID.
was Unbelievable.
Before it was the glint in any seriously infected bat's eye, so so to speak. But I hadn't been feeling well, so I was already having a year where it was a bit of a struggle for me to keep working in the cube. But I kept adapting and changing. Voiceover was something I had just started to get into and hoping to revisit it back at a former company where I was a full-time trainer before. And, they'd gone a different direction with someone else. And I wanted to try to deal myself back into recorded trainings for, new either new associates who were coming on board or clients, external clients who might be able to tune in on YouTube or something to like, hey, I have a new payroll person, or I have a new employee who does X, Y, and Z. I want to show them how to use your product, and I don't have time to wait for somebody to schedule a phone call. Isn't there something you can do on, oh, I don't know, it's called the internet. Most people are using it now. What about your company? And
Yeah,
the
let's
answer was,
adapt to the times
yes, we
a little
did.
bit.
So we, I was able to create product and trainings and have them placed on YouTube with full permission of our former company. I was very pleased with that, and I wanted to continue doing that. So before the layoff, I'd gotten some training and done it professionally with a studio, and then it sort of all went sideways as far as not being very healthy goes. And so, in a nutshell, just to cut to the chase, I basically had fatty liver disease and it became cirrhotic. So after the layoff, um, I got very sick indeed, and I spent about 2 months in the hospital and got a liver transplant, or I would have died.
You did
And
get that.
yes, I do have a liver transplant.
I didn't think we. I don't. Did we know that you had? I know you needed one.
Yes, I talked to you from the hospital. However, one of the downsides to having major surgery like that is it's hard to think straight. And it
Huh.
took about 6 months before all the marbles more or less rolled back into place. And I was able to start, I don't know, having normal conversations with folks again. So
Mhm.
if you got the impression that I was just sick, no, I had a liver transplant.
Okay, I know. I guess we never ran back to her. We probably talked about it, and I just forgot because it was, I guess, a little bit ago. But at last I remember is that you needed one, and I had been
Yes.
wondering like how you were, but I guess did you let us
The
know you
doctors
needed
had
one?
said if I hadn't had a liver made available, I would have died within the next 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah,
It was that bad?
it was that
Holy
bad.
shit!
And it just got worse rather quickly.
Wow.
So I was surprised.
Yeah.
I'd stopped smoking years before, and I stopped drinking that year earlier in the year, and I thought like, oh, well, with all the bad habits cast aside,
Hmm.
obviously I'll get better now. But I hadn't realized that it was as either far gone as it had been, or just that there were some other underlying conditions that had
Yeah.
nothing to do with bad habits,
Oh
just
wow.
some genetic stuff, and I don't know, without getting into technical details.
Yeah. But now, do you have a little, you have a
So
little FOMO now?
a little what?
A little fear of missing out?
Fear of missing out. Well,
FOMO, though.
yeah, that's a
That's a new
good way to
thing the
put it.
kids.
I hadn't heard that expression before.
Yeah, that's what the kids are saying
I
these days.
it took me a long time. They also damaged my vocal cords with the that uh, thing they stick down your windpipe
The
that you keep
incubate,
breathing. Yes,
yeah. Innovate,
intubators, intubator.
intubate. That's yeah.
My throat got scratched or something happened to my vocal cords when they removed it because I could
Shit.
barely talk for about 8 months, and you couldn't hear me, and I couldn't also hear anything since my ears were also clogged up. So it made it not much fun in the
Yeah.
hospital when I
Well,
was
thank
asked a
goodness.
question I couldn't hear and answered with a voice that they couldn't hear.
Well, thank goodness for text messages because I didn't realize how bad that was as well. Because how we've all been chatting.
Yeah, absolutely right. So I certainly got more used to using the phone.
So
Uh,
that's all
but
interesting too. Is that now, like I said, your vocal
anyway,
cords are
so
so hurt.
I've after I bounced back out of that and got some physical rehab so that I could basically learn to walk again, since I'd lost the use of like standing up. You'd be surprised how quickly your legs buckle if you lie in bed for like a month or so without any exercise.
I could
Your
see it.
legs feel fine, but as soon as you put weight on them, it's like, and you're
Yeah.
down. That so that makes it a little bit harder, especially when I fell
Yeah.
after getting out.
Oh, jeez.
Dummy me. I tripped on the rug. Wasn't supposed to do that.
I'm
I don't
sure.
think you're supposed to do that even if you don't have surgery, but
Yeah,
I'm pretty
I
sure.
wouldn't recommend that. But now,
So
so what?
I'm still recovering, but I'm doing better. It's just there's sort of a knife edge that I really can't cross or push
Um,
myself too hard for. And I had a couple of other scares last year where I went back into the hospital a couple of times.
mhm. But I mean, the silver lining now is, like I said, what that you pulled the trigger on doing something you wanted to do for a long time.
Yeah,
Just getting a
thank you.
voice act.
I did. And so, medical stuff aside and all that, that gave me some time to just try this instead.
Mhm.
I've always wanted to uh, do recorded trainings and things like that. I was good at it at the last job. I still think I'm good at it, even,
Yeah.
showing you stuff, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. Although you're faster at technology, I think, than I am. You've always
Eh,
had an edge on me for that.
I like it simple. If it's simple, I can
Mm,
figure it out.
You make it simple.
I guess.
So you are good at that. Come on.
Shit takes time. No,
And
and then other things that kind of make it worse. Like
um,
I just made an intro for my other podcast, and it's probably a 30-second intro. It took me like hours to put together to get to download the clips and then clip them and then put it together in GarageBand. Shit took me hours to do for it, which I'm sure people can maybe motor through in much faster of a time. But
yeah, with experience,
yeah,
sure. But if you don't have the experience, you have to put in the time to get it.
yeah,
That's what experience is.
exactly.
You can't just fake it.
Yeah,
You're either proficient at it or you're not. But you learn quickly. Anyway,
but
I
it's,
was going to say I digress.
yeah, but
Let's say
it's
that.
very cool that that you're doing that. That was a late friend of mine. That was something we always thought was so cool was voice acting and because there's also there it's a whole thing. There's a documentary out there for I think it's I know that voice or something
Yes,
like that. Yeah,
Maurice LaMarche, I think.
yeah, he's in it. John DiMaggio, I think, is the guy who
Yes. He's the
uh,
one who
it's his
produced it, and I
documentary
think
pretty
he might have
much.
directed it. Yeah,
Yeah, and he does the voice of tons of stuff. I think he's Finn the dog.
Futurama.
Yeah, from Futurama, he's Finn the dog from Adventure Time. He's Marcus Phoenix from Game of Thrones. He's just got a badass gravelly voice, and so seeing that is so interesting um, because just voice acting and then listening to it's so hard for me because I listen to anything and I'm trying to pinpoint the voice. Like Rob Paulson's voice, I can pinpoint from anything. Same thing.
Hello, Rob.
Yeah, same or with Maurice LaMarche. Like watching Rick and Morty, and I can hear oh yeah, that's Rob Paulson. He's one of the townspeople, and it's just always so interesting that those it's only like a small group of people that do so many voices, and it was super
That's
interesting.
right. It's such a crowded industry too.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
If you go into voice acting hoping to do like, oh, I want to do animation, well, there's a limited amount of
Yeah,
roles that become available for that kind of thing.
yeah, you and
You
everybody
know,
else, buddy.
yeah. And you should try it. There are always people who want to like try to break in. And sure, if you put in the time and the effort it takes to do that,
Hmm.
and you're not expecting to get rich quick,
Yeah,
you can find work. It's
yeah,
just it'll take you. They say when you first start, it's like you'll get one job out of every 250 tries.
shit.
Yeah,
Now I
so
noticed
it's not easy.
I've seen you post pictures of the group that you're a part of.
Yes,
It looks like a lot of younger folks. I'm assuming that's exactly
they're
their
all younger than me.
and they're all looking to get into animation and video games.
No, I mean, the surgeries aged me. I'm only 25, so
Yeah, so
that it's a.
the chops, I don't think do you any favors in that department.
No, yeah, they did get gray on the ends.
You're very, I don't know the word for it, continental, maybe?
I'm
No,
only 39,
yeah.
Gosh. Uh,
Be- But between your ponytail and your mutton chops,
oh yes.
I'm getting very Thomas Jefferson vibes,
Well,
President
Thomas
McKinley
Jefferson
vibes.
didn't have the chops, but John
Okay,
Quincy Adams did.
there you go. But I'm getting
There
John
you go.
Quincy Adams vibes. But yeah, it's very cool to see that. And like I said, you get a lot of people. Would you guys take a trip to Phoenix?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. So the voiceover group that I'm with, they're called LTM Voiceover. That's Larry, Tom, Mary. It stands for Lindsay, Tyler, and Max, who are the people who run it on a Discord server.
Hmm.
And it's
Okay,
really very good and very helpful. Gives
that's
people
cool.
a chance to go to and every once in a while get a chance to do voiceover workshops with each other or with sometimes to do improv together, at least via Zoom.
Yeah,
And at Phoenix was the first time we got to see everybody in person,
that's
or as
yeah. It
I
was like
like
a
to
little.
say, putting a face to the face.
It was like a little retreat, which was cool.
Yes.
Now it's funny too. I mean, because now I mean here we are. We're the Cube Nerds podcast. That's why I asked if you wanted to do anything different because now you're not a Cube Nerd anymore.
I'm not. Although you never know, I might return to be one at some point.
You
I'm
would never.
still looking to see if I can, I'm not expecting to like make a living from this. And
Eh,
being on disability currently, I really can't do full time. And I'd be really worried about trying to do full time and not making it,
yeah.
or somebody hiring me with a false expectation that I won't have a relapse of some kind, or that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, it's
So
helpful and it's something. It's again, it's something you enjoy, which is the biggest thing.
yes.
And it's a little something because, like you said, you've gotten a paid gig, so now you can say
Yep.
you're a professional voice actor.
And
Very
as
cool.
well as a narrator. So I've got an audiobook out that I was able to voice,
Very cool.
and I think I did a pretty good job with it.
I did. I listened to the sample and it was very cool. A little southern draw on you. It was very interesting. I played it for my wife too. She was like, "Wow, he sounds really good."
I
Yeah,
worked hard on that.
I'll bet you did.
I'm actually recording the sequel to it right now,
I remember you saying that. That's cool too.
and so I just did some more last night in our new setup here, and came out pretty good. So
That's
I'm hoping to continue to do that. I'd like to narrate a couple of nonfiction books too, since you sort of remember that I'm a big history kind of buff. So
yeah, just a little bit.
no, no. But
Get
most
to know
most
what I
people
want.
that interview with you or with us probably don't mention, drop name John Quincy Adams kind of references. It just
Yeah,
doesn't normally come up in the day to day life.
and you
Even in cubes, it doesn't come up.
yeah, no, there's always that somebody. Like at my new job, there's a guy who probably the two of you would have great conversations. He's not so much of a history buff, I think, but he's very much in the classic cars and just the past and reminiscing and everything like that. I always felt like you guys could have a very good conversation. Bert thought that too. He was on the show one time we had him, and he talked about just his career and everything like that. His name's Joe. He was on an
Okay.
episode we filmed at the office, and yeah, he had a lot of interesting stuff to say. He's always very flamboyant, very puts himself together very well. He always had a different pin every day with a story and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, you're your type of cat, definitely somebody you I think could get along with.
Well, you mentioned before that I was one of the older persons that I looked like one of the older persons in the
Well,
room.
I said that they were younger. I didn't say they were
And
old.
okay, but y- I just wanted to put it out there that it's hard to relate when you keep getting older and they seem to keep getting younger.
Hmm.
So that it's weird when you just drop references to things, then nobody has any idea what you're talking about. And once you've sort of got accustomed to that, you have to rethink it when 10 years later you haven't died yet, you're still alive, and your references that you thought were good with the people you now work with are now too old for the next group of people who join.
Hmm.
And so you have to keep trying to remember that like my own kids are now older than, let's say, half of the people who are doing the voice acting group. My kids are, and which makes me even like older than their own parents.
Yeah.
Or dropping references like, oh yeah, I think my dad mentioned that once.
Well, it's honestly not a
Like,
young person's game. Who are the pros
well,
in there? Who are the
it
pros
can
there? They've been
be.
doing
It
it forever.
depends
And
what
they're old.
you're doing. I mean, even in Cube Nerds, you still had seniors there. You remember Mitch,
Oh yeah.
our good
Oh,
friend Mitch,
love Mitch.
and yes, me too. And one of the only persons I could talk with who remembered who Dick Cavett is.
I know who Dick Cavett is.
Oh, okay. Well, in the group I'm with now, you're older.
Like,
and they don't get Dick Cavett
I hate that
or the
I'm old.
name.
Well, if they've seen Forrest Gump, they know who Dick Cavett is.
Forrest Gump? What's that? Forrest Gump is a long time ago now.
Oh my God. Really? Now, see, now
So
that's
if
great.
you're working with somebody who was born in the mid 90s, when did Forrest Gump come out?
94,
90
95.
something. Like, so you're talking about movies that they didn't see because they were less than viewing age.
Oh my God. But so what? What? I never saw a movie that came out before I was born.
Some people don't.
That's bonkers.
It's
My
to
wife, my
some
wife,
people.
my wife can't stand anything that like came out in the '80s and it just looks older. She's like, I can't even watch this. I'm like,
Well, some of the stuff from the 80s looks ridiculous when you. I've been trying to watch Red Dawn. Do you remember Red Dawn?
the original one with Kurt Russell? No, Patrick Swayze.
Patrick Swayze. That's right. And I
I
think,
never saw.
well, I was trying to watch it, and as I'm watching it, it's bonkers how ridiculous it is. It's just, it looks so fake. Yeah, that's the word,
Yeah.
fake. Just, although it wasn't a very good movie, it was a sort of a cult classic for a while.
Oh, yeah,
I know it ticked off the Russians back in the good old days of the Cold War.
I'm sure.
Good old days.
They
They were like,
remade
"Oh,
it.
this is what you think of Russians. You think, oh, you make fun of us. It's like you keep thinking we are going to attack. We are
Yeah.
not going to attack.
We
You
bomb
think
your
we are,
ass.
but this is why we have to be ready in case Americans drop bomb or something." Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw it. I know they remade it with Chris Hemsworth, but haven't seen it.
Uh, well, that's the other thing. It's like we need to talk about that sometime about what's going to happen with movies or films
As
because
far as
we're in flux right now, and this pandemic has just fast forwarded what was already occurring, which was
everything moving to streaming.
everything moving to streaming, and movies don't last in theaters the way they used to.
Yeah,
So
I know now that there's
the older you get, or geez, no, not the older you get, but it's the further back you go. If you look at box office records and things, you forget anchor movies that would be around in the theaters for almost a year.
yeah.
Now you're lucky if you get a month.
Yeah, well, they got to hurry up and get it to a home release so they can keep making more money.
Well,
And
even so,
also,
you
too,
still have to have something in the theater, or otherwise the theater goes out of business.
but you're talking about, are you talking about the days of like where there was only like a couple of reels and it got passed around from theater to theater to theater?
I'm more talking about just like, okay, Avatar just came out. My goodness, it's going to stay in the movie theaters for months, and it's there for a bit of time because it's like, oh look, gimmicks. It's
That's
filmed
exactly
in
what it was.
IMAX 3D,
Yeah, that was
and like,
bullshit.
ooh,
He kept
and then
they kept trying to
Cameron's
put
just
it
like,
on the theater so they could keep making more money. It would leave theaters and they go, oh, let's put it back in theaters. Like when Avengers broke its record, they fucking put Avatar back in theaters again so that it could break Avengers from breaking their record.
oh really?
Yeah, I believe
That's why
so.
they re-released it.
Yeah, I think Avatar's back at number one again because they re-released it after Avengers broke its record, which is horseshit because Avatar is such a dog shit movie. It was so bad. When I
Well, I
first
was
saw
gonna
it,
say, has anybody tapped Mr. Cameron on the shoulder and said, like, uh, you realize the 3D fad sort of ended? They don't make everything in 3D anymore. Sort of the Great Gatsby, sort of like was the I'm sorry, you did what in 3D? Great Gatsby? Oh,
doesn't matter to him.
okay.
He caught the wave. He pioneered it, and everybody was like, "Ooh, 3D all over again."
He
Let's. Yeah.
pioneered it, but what is he gonna do with Avatar 2, 3, 4, and 5?
Well, that's probably
I
why
mean,
he's
he's
taking.
got all four of those in production,
Yeah,
right?
that's probably why he's taken 10 years to get it out because he needs to do
Nobody
something new.
cares anymore 10
Exactly.
years
Nobody
later.
gives a shit. Apparently, there's the big Avatar ride of Pandora at whatchamacallit at Disney World. That's apparently a super cool ride, and that's the only reason anybody would give a shit about it. But man, I hated that movie. I heard bad things about it, and then like when I watched it not in 3D, so I actually got to see it for what it was in the story, and it was just most unoriginal crap I'd ever seen. But it's like, hey, who cares?
Did you
Because
remember our mutual friend that we had back at our former job who was a boss who said, I thought it was a little too early to have a remake of Fern Gully.
yeah, I don't remember who said that, but I'd heard that too. That's exactly what it is. Yeah,
His
it's
name
a
was
tale as old
Don,
as
and it
time.
was one of the funniest things I'd ever heard. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. The script is exactly
Yeah,
the
same
same.
exact shit. Ugh, and then the words and unobtainium was the fucking precious metal they were trying to get. Ah, God, it was
Oh,
so unoriginal. Definitely does not deserve to be the highest grossing film of all time. But you know what? It appeals to the lowest common denominator of people, and we
yeah,
learned
you're
past few
doing it a
years.
disservice. Not the lowest common denominator.
Mhm.
It's slightly above that. I mean,
Well, you know what it does, and we kind of learned over the past few years. Let's say the past 5 years, that the simple mind, like not simple minded is putting it very bluntly, but I would say folks who don't want to or need to be challenged and think very hard, folks who just like stuff thrown in their face, like here it is, and you don't have to think about it too hard. There's a lot more folks out there than you wish there was, and that's the kind of people that really love Avatar. They don't want to. They just look at it. Ooh, pretty lights and 3D and a story. Doesn't matter if it's a good story or an original story. It's pretty lights and a story. I love it. And
well,
there's
I
a
will
lot of
say
those.
that basing a movie on technology is a waste of a movie.
Yeah.
Or let's change it up a little bit. Have you ever seen a 3D movie in 2D?
Oh yeah. That's why I said Avatar.
So, well, I meant, have you seen it in 2D? I saw it in 3D in the theater.
I didn't
It
see it.
looked 3D. It looked like a very well done 3D. I saw somebody get out of their seat and go down past the front row while they were going out for popcorn. He looked like he was walking through the forest, to go get popcorn because that's what you do in the forest. But
Yeah.
I thought, oh, okay, that's kind of neat. But the story sort of left me a little like, but
Yeah.
it looked cool.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. But
Oh, of course.
I'm talking like was it A Christmas Carol in 3D with Jim Carrey?
Heard about it, never didn't see it.
Well, I didn't see it in 3D, didn't see it in the theater, but as you know, or may not know, but I watch every version of A Christmas Carol I can get my hands on. It's my all-time favorite Christmas thing to do is to
Mhm.
watch all of them or track down ones I've never seen before.
Okay.
And I watched that and I'm like, all right, well, the last 20 minutes wouldn't exist if this hadn't been shot in 3D. And
Yeah.
watching it in 2D on a TV screen, I mean, you can tell when it starts to get blurry. I'm like, oh, this is where the 3D effects come in, right?
Yeah.
And the answer is, yeah, actually it is.
Yep.
Same with Shrek 3D. There's a whole scene where, like, okay, I guess that looked pretty good in 3D. And 2D, we're just sort of like waiting for the next scene.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's what
So
they
you're sacrificing
feel
the
for, the
movie
reason
for
they do it.
technology.
Yeah. And it sucks. But again, Avatar, highest grossing movie in the world of all time. So I guess we're the assholes.
That is so wrong.
It is.
Well, do you think it should be a Marvel movie instead?
Oh hell yeah. I mean,
Really?
not just because I'm a huge comic book fan, but the
You're
time and the
spending a lot of
effort.
money on a movie, and if the movie's well enough told, and I'm not debating that actually. I'm saying I could see that you're getting good return for your special effects dollars,
Mhm.
as well as you're watching actors who look like they're at least they're enjoying what they're doing. It's written by people who are big fans of it, and it's being watched by people who are big fans of the franchise, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Mhm.
Although I do wish there were more different variety of movies. It got to the part before the pandemic where the only movies that were in the box office were the big budget ones, and
Yeah,
the little indie films got left under the rug,
because
or
that's
they
the
weren't
thing.
even reviewed at the same time.
That's how it has to be. There's no room for those kind of films. Nobody's going to spend
There
$25 on.
used to be.
Oh well, of course, but like I said, now nobody's going to spend $25 on a movie ticket to go see some little indie flick. The theaters
Well, let's say
are
it's not
dying
an
for the way.
indie flick. Did you see the Scorsese movie that just came out only on Netflix?
The Irishman.
The Irishman, which they
Yes.
did release in a few theaters,
Yes.
and that was out. That was before the pandemic.
Yeah. Um,
Uh,
maybe just
I thought
before
it
the pandemic.
was.
I think yeah,
Yeah,
before the pandemic. Yeah.
and so that was I watched it on Netflix,
Mhm.
and I've had several friends who went to go see it in the theater, even though it only had a very limited release.
Okay.
Everyone that I know who saw it in the theater loved it.
Okay.
Everyone I know that watched it on television didn't like it or
Really?
didn't think it was worthy of it.
See, that's interesting. And Scorsese probably did it that way to design it to enjoy at the cinema. You know.
and
But
I read an excellent review of it. I can't remember where the review was. It was something I read online, but it was from a source
mm,
of Variety or Washington Post or the New York Times. In other words, a reliable source, not just somebody's blog somewhere. But it was a good take, no matter where it came from or who it came from, which was that some movies are meant to be seen without a break.
mhm.
And if you have the option to pause it, turn it off, watch it over a few nights, you're ruining the continuity of the movie. You're taking yourself out of it
Yeah,
instead of letting it have a chance.
I agree with that.
Earlier today, somebody had told me, like, if you want to get into a really good book, a thick book, and I'm trying to remember what his example was. It basically said, like, promise yourself you won't bail on the book until you've read at least 80 pages of it. It
Mm,
was a long novel. And he
yeah,
said, absolutely, it was worth every bit of it because it was something he almost put aside for that first 80 pages, trying to figure out, okay, it's a whole different world here. What's going on? I'm not really interested in it. But little by little, once you accumulate the knowledge and things are set up in your mind, you get into it a bit more. And then you're all in.
yeah, which I
And you're
agree.
all in or you're all out. And so I think The Irishman was something that I could see being a much better movie if you watch it in one sitting.
Yeah, I liked it.
And
I think I watched it in one sitting.
I've been getting in the habit of doing that. I don't ever see a movie now in like one night. I see them all in two nights.
Yeah,
I pause it after an hour and then I switch to something else,
but I feel like
or
now,
maybe I just have yes.
well, I would say now, like, because you going to the movies, you can't just go to the movies all the time because it's too damn expensive. Like folks used to be able to just go and let's see a movie and then just go see something. But now people need to go to the movies to have a good time. Plus, everybody's attention span is super short too. So when you have that special attraction of going to the movies, it's got to be something that's worth it. And that's why these big blockbusters are the ones that make the millions of dollars because that's why people go to the movies. Like Avengers Endgame, sure, it should have. I think it should have been the highest grossing movie in the world. It was the best time I ever had at the movies. It was so much
Which
fun.
which movie? Oh, the Avengers
Endgame.
Endgame, which I haven't seen yet.
Oh my God, are you kidding
I
me?
know, I know.
I thought we were
I'm
going to
all
see
caught
them.
up, and that's the last one to watch.
Oh, well,
My
you.
son has made
Oh,
sure. My older son, who's he's not as old as you.
no, I don't think so.
he's
You're not that
he,
old.
he's no, I'm not actually. We were still we were married when we were in our 20s, and Richard, my son, was born when I was still in my 20s.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
So yeah.
yeah. My dad, I think, was 25 when they had me. So
Nope.
I'm thir-
And I
I
think
just
my
turned
dad was
37.
23,
Okay. Oh, well, different times.
37.
Yeah, I'm
Jeez, listen to
37.
those years. Well, I'm 39 now, so you're only about 10
Yeah.
years
See,
older
I
than me.
know. Back in the old days,
But
37.
back to Jack Benny. Okay. And what was I saying? So uh, the other thing I was going to say about that is that televisions have gotten so good at showing it back. I get into the theater to see something on the big screen, and it's like, it looks pixelated.
Yeah.
It looks blurry on the big screen. And I'm like, why in the world am I going to the theater to see something that would look better on my television set?
Yeah. That's where the finances are. But you're not getting every episode like that.
The
Most of
last movie that I saw that wasn't digital, one on just regular film, was especially grainy looking. I think it was one of Craig's, or what's his name, who does James Bond.
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig, I think it was one of his first Bond movies, was still
Okay.
an analog print, wasn't digital. And it looked grainy, grainy, grainy. So I think if you
Casino
blow it
Royale,
up that
maybe.
large,
That was the first one.
it could be. Try to remember. But after that, I'm like, wow. So the next film we saw wasn't digital. And I'm like, okay, that's better, but still not as sharp. I mean, when I saw Westworld in, was it Ultra HD 4K
Probably.
for the
I
first time,
I
I
think
was
that's what
just
they're up to now.
I was amazed and appalled because that meant I had to buy a new television and I had to do it that week.
Yeah, I don't even
Because
have.
once you've seen it, you can't go back.
I'll
You
bet.
know,
Yeah, it's another guy
and
we used to work with all
you
the
don't
time.
have one.
A 4K TV? No.
Do you know how cheap they're getting?
Oh, I'm sure they're
Inexpensive?
super cheap. My wife was trying to pitch me a TV the other day. I was like, "No, that's the same size one we have already." I was like, "Really?" 'Cause it's I think I have like a 65, and 65 is like old news.
Well, it's larger than mine.
No, okay. Oh, well, I
And I
remember.
have well, actually, do I have a 4K? I don't know. I think so, but I'm not sure.
So
But
I
anyway, it just looked like the scene spilled out onto the floor to the rug. I'm looking on the rug for where all the sand is for the trail that's at the end in Westworld, and I'm like, geez, okay, well, evidently I now need a new television. Thank you very much. And just going this week down to Walmart, I'm like, they're under 100. They're under $500 for like the best one I've ever seen in my life.
That's how it goes. I remember I had a 36-inch flat screen. It was still probably 6 inches fat. Now my 65-inch TV is paper thin. It was
Yeah,
still
yeah,
probably about 6 inches thick, and it was a 36-inch TV, and I'm pretty sure it cost $2,500. But I was working, I was living at home, so I was making good money, and I had it. My dad helped me hang it on the wall. We ran the cords through the wall. It was super sexy looking. It was so sweet. But
yep.
but yeah, and that was like such a mind blower. Now I'm like, fuck, I don't need. I run the cords around. I just hang them down. Who's gonna run them through the wall anymore? But now those TVs they're super thin. This thing
Yeah.
was heavy as shit. I finally got rid of it because I was like, I don't want to get rid of this TV I had forever. But I've bought so many TVs since that are cheaper and thinner and better quality. Why do I need to keep this thing anymore? Because it's just that dated
Yeah,
technology.
and why do you need a TV that takes two people to carry it?
Yeah, not anymore.
These days, the only reason you need two people is that it's so big, it's unwieldy.
Yeah,
But it's light enough to carry with one person. It
absolutely.
just
They
you
all
wouldn't
are.
want to turn with it without taking
Yeah,
out like half the room with you.
exactly.
It's amazing. And when you watch Sopranos these days, I watched it just about a year ago. I binged watched a lot of things when I was recovering,
The
and
best.
that was one of them. And I'm like, half the episodes are like, oh, look at this giant television. They put this gigantic, heavy thing into a room, and like,
Yeah.
that would cost $4,000. Like, geez, really?
I know, right? A lot of it doesn't hold up. Well, not that it doesn't hold up, but it's funny, like, it doesn't feel like it was
It's
that
just
long
the
ago.
technology changed so quickly, and
Yeah,
it
and,
wasn't
like,
that long
the
ago.
type of cell phones they have and stuff like that. Like, when the show
Yeah,
started, they didn't have cell phones, and as it goes on, they have regular phones, and they eventually have flip phones in, like, the later seasons, and it's wild to
yep.
see. They
And
eventually
then it
do.
ended with the flip phones,
Yeah, exactly.
and as do so many things.
Yeah, but that's just another testament to it is bigger TVs and better television also you can stay home and not have to go to the movies anymore. So the movies has to do something special to keep up, and especially now after the pandemic, they gotta really pull you back in. A lot of things are just trying to see, only in theaters is where you can see this, and, it works,
I
and they
mean,
keep
I don't mind the experience of going to the theater. I like it. It's a good reason to go out.
I miss it.
Absolutely. It
Yeah,
need Yes, I do too. It needs to be safe as far as this pandemic winding down.
yeah.
And now that I'm immunocompromised, I have to be even more careful. But
Absolutely. My
um,
wife is just in the same boat where gotta be super careful.
when we had the trip to Phoenix, it was a requirement of the group in the Airbnb, like you had to have a vaccination
Okay.
if you wanted to be in the house.
Yeah,
Otherwise, no.
that's a good thing.
None of this test stuff.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
And so I felt a bit safer because of that.
Yeah. Well, I
But
chose not to go
otherwise,
to
it's
Comic-Con
been
this year.
a lot of people didn't. Although I'm sure a lot of people did, and I'm sure it was still just as crowded as it always looks.
Yeah, I actually from what I saw and what people said is it wasn't. It was actually nice that it wasn't ridiculously crowded. There was still a shitload of people. I think 150,000 they said. Um,
Holy cow!
yeah, which I'm
Although
pretty
New
sure.
York's the best city to have them in, of course.
Yeah, well, I think it a couple of years ago it surpassed San Diego, and I think it was upwards of over 275,000 people.
It
Really close to
surpassed San
4 days.
Diego?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Holy mackerel.
As far as size and people. Yeah. Not as far as scale because San Diego's out, in California, so all the celebrities go to that one, and only half of those celebrities will travel to New York. So, but yeah, but I missed out, and it was a bummer because I love New York Comic Con, but chose to not go just to be safe.
A lot of the people who were supposed to go didn't go too, as far as
Yeah,
the guests I heard.
some people canceled. Midtown Comics, whose store is right in New York City, who always has a huge booth right in the middle of the floor, chose not to go. Wild. But the cosplay, because you can tell everybody was putting in the work during their quarantine time. The cosplay, some of the costumes I saw were friggin' phenomenal. Like some of the best
The
I ever saw, I've
costumes
ever seen.
always continue to get better and better.
Yeah, it was super cool. All that stuff I saw just through pictures. So yeah, it was a bummer I missed out on a lot of that. But yeah, a lot of people made productive use of their time during the pandemic, which was good.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
no, that's
great.
kind of neat.
Yeah, and that's how it
I
should.
still haven't been to a Comic Con.
Oh, you got it.
I know, I know, I know.
Bert used to say, because Bert's gone to New York a bunch of times, and he prefers to go to Baltimore or Philadelphia because they're smaller and you can actually walk through the aisles. I actually
Yes.
like I actually like the chaos of New York. I
Well,
like
it
that it's
depends why you're going. If you're going to shop, then the best way to do that.
yeah,
But if you're just going to see panel discussions and auditoriums, then absolutely I would do that.
yeah.
The only thing that I've gone to at all in the past was, the Fest for Beatle fans in Secaucus,
Yeah.
which hasn't been in Secaucus for years. And they had it in, what was it, Staten Island, and
Okay.
having it in, excuse me, this coming year in Jersey City,
Oh,
unless
really?
they
Okay.
cancel it,
So still in the
like
area.
they did this past year. It's just that with the, at least for Beatle Fest, most of the guests are basically, dying. It's been
Yeah.
a long time now, and so it gets a little more. Uh, it's hard to find fresh faces to put out.
Yeah.
There are people
Not
who
gonna
like
go
to
on
come
forever.
back as guests, and there are certainly guests who keep returning that I like to see. There's a Beatles author named Bruce Spitzer. And I'll always go and see him because he always has a book out. He's very well informed, and he always has information that he's spent a lot of time researching.
Yeah. Huh.
So his presentations almost make it worth it for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who else are they gonna
And
get?
and they have tons of live music,
Oh, that's good.
and
I mean, I
it's
guess
one of the only places you can see live music. I got to see the Smithereens in concert at live at Beatle Fest.
feel like I've heard of the Smithereens.
Well, they're one of the best rock bands to come out of New Jersey.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Although Dale Nunzio, I think, died last year or the year before.
I don't.
He's the lead singer, so
Oh,
um,
that would hurt him a little bit.
that would hurt them a little bit.
Are you
And
familiar with?
I got to hear Donovan live.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yep.
that's what everybody thinks of when they think of my kid.
Yep. A name you might be familiar with. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever heard of T. Roth and Another Pretty Face?
I have not.
They're a Jersey band that were very big into, like the dude. He used to wear the lead singer's gay, and he used to wear makeup and all that kind of stuff. Like before bands were doing that, like I think before Twisted Sister and all that other stuff. This big local band that my parents got into. He had two
I mean, like
concerts.
Kiss.
Yeah, but makeup, not like Kiss makeup, like
Well,
female makeup.
Kiss, they wore full makeup.
Okay. But not like painted face makeup, like Twisted Sister makeup, like rosy cheeks and lipstick and that, I
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
shadow. Yeah, exactly. Feminine makeup.
Like,
But yeah.
oh,
My
well,
parents
yeah,
turned me on to their music because they were a
that
local band
era.
in Jersey that my parents had seen, and they were awesome.
Well, I can give you an example. Speaking of New Jersey, I'd mentioned, somebody had brought up in the voiceover group, they mentioned Fountains of Wayne. And I
Okay.
said, "Oh, that's a New Jersey band. Did you know that they're named after an actual place called the Fountains of Wayne, which is on an interstate that's not there anymore, but they used to have this gigantic collection outdoors,
There.
right in front of it, of fountains and this huge Santa Claus and everything." And all I heard back from one of the leaders was like, "Oh, you're trying to be relatable."
Pretty funny.
And I was like,
That,
yeah, I was
it was a
trying.
store, right?
Yes, it was.
It's actually
It was
yeah,
actually called the Fountains of Wayne.
it's actually on The Sopranos.
Yes, it is. That's right. That's right.
That's
They
the show
they
Tony
they
does.
stopped over and shot a scene there,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Actually,
it's just a pity that they went out of business because it was there through I don't know how many decades.
I
But
guess so, yeah. There's actually a scene in The Sopranos too that they shot in my old town in Greenwood Lake, New York, where in the later
oh,
episodes when they are at Bobby's lake house. I think that lake somebody said is Greenwood Lake, but I don't think so. but there's a scene where they're driving up to Canada and they're driving around a lake, and there's a woman who's jet skiing, and she's waving, or she's like water skiing, and she's waving to them as they're driving. And that scene is actually on Greenwood Lake, and they're driving around Jersey Ave, and that's actually the road I used to take to get to work every day.
Well, we saw Route 10 in The Sopranos. They had
Oh,
a
the
few
the
scenes
whole
shot of Route 10,
yeah, the
a
whole
whole
area in
bunch.
Jersey is the
And
routes.
yeah, and of course we would drive that every day when we had to work at the one of the locations our old company was at.
Yeah,
At least I had to.
yeah. I
You did
tried
too, didn't you?
probably when you work at a place for fucking 12 years, you find every different route way to get there, to get around, just especially in Jersey, to get around the traffic, to beat this way, to go that way. Yeah, you try every.
Remember I wrote that rant about it? It was like we used to work in this nice place. It was right off of Route 80. It only took me 20 minutes to get there.
Yep.
And then same number of miles, but now 40 minutes to drive one way to get there. The fastest I ever got there was 30 minutes. How
Oh,
did I get there so fast? Oh, easy. It was the day after the hurricane, Hurricane Sandy.
yeah,
The only reason I got there faster was because the hurricane had shut down all the side roads because all the lights were out and all the parking lights were out. So all the police had to just stand there like you can only go straight. And I'm like, I'm only going straight.
yeah,
So it just shot there in a half an hour, passing all like, geez, every single sign is broken. All these trees are down.
yeah.
And I'm scared to death I'm gonna run into a tree on one
A
of the
wasteland.
roads, wasteland.
Yeah,
And I get to the nice building there where it's on generator power,
yeah.
but at least it had power. Our house, we lost power for 2 weeks during Sandy.
I was very lucky.
And I was lucky to work in a place that had a generator with heat.
Yeah,
And every day I would take in this large battery my wife had, and I would charge it there so I could bring it home at night so they could plug in all of the electronics, my wife and kids. So
yeah.
all their
Been one of
phones would
those now.
charge during the day. And and most of the lights were out. Do you remember? Most
Oh
of the
yeah,
lights were out, so there were just the little desk lights, and it was
yeah.
like you
They
were
had
working
floodlights.
in a lowly lit bistro
Yeah,
restaurant.
they had floodlights on the corners of like the department
That's
lights
right,
kind of
they
area. Yeah.
did. So you
I think
could
I
see
came
where
in
the rows were.
just to come in. I was sick of being home. I just wanted to go in.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I lived in New York and I used to travel, it was an hour to get to work. So then I moved to Jersey, and it was like 45 minutes with traffic. I was loving it. And then probably about a couple months later, we changed buildings, and I
Yep.
was back to being an hour for work every day. Worst.
Yep.
And that was the reason, one of the reasons I didn't leave earlier is because I didn't want my commute to be crazier. And then finally it got so bad I had to. And then I went to about an hour and 15 for a commute. And now, I mean, I've been working from home though for so long, I don't even think about it. It's so hard to even think about going back. Why would I want to? Plus all the
Well,
stuff going on
remember,
at
I'm a
home.
bit older than you, so one of my past jobs before the last one, remember, I used to work at a bookstore. I was a
Yes.
manager of a bookstore, and that was also off of Route 10. And I thought I'd never have that commute again in my life. I
Yeah.
didn't want to have it again because there was always a chance of traffic backing up off Route 10 or 287 or all of the other wonderful New Jersey name dropping we're doing with road names, which I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody's thrilled with. But oh my gosh, traffic at the blink of an eye. Just you remember once just different things about the traffic. There was always like, oh, no wonder it's backed up. There's a house stuck under the bridge, that 287 is on top of.
Yeah.
Somebody's actually driving a house on a trailer and it got stuck under the overpass.
Yeah. You see
This
some
is the
shit
kind of thing
going
that
on.
happens on Route 10.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
And again,
Lights
travel.
every 30 minutes. And then it's like, oh, and every construction vehicle in New Jersey evidently all report to the same construction site off of Route 10 for no reason whatsoever. It's like they're building the pyramids of Egypt somewhere near Maplewood or Livingston or something. And then you find out,
Well, one of the best parts about Jersey is that one road you can get to everywhere from one road.
and it's an interstate. Route 10 is an interstate,
Yeah.
but people live on an interstate, which means they breed, which means they have kids that the school bus has to stop for. In New Jersey, you've got a 4-lane highway stopped all the way across so that the school bus can pick up Johnny and Susie on Route 10. It's just boggles the mind. It just
Yeah,
doesn't exist anywhere else, only in New Jersey. And of
that's
course,
nightmare.
I'm sorry. And everybody from voiceover, you're from New Jersey? Oh, what exit? And actually, that's a joke they don't even know because now they're too young to even know the New Jersey what
Yeah,
exit ha 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 is from. And
I
all they know about is Jersey Shore, which of course is kids from Long Island, right?
yeah, I don't think any of them are from
Yeah,
Jersey.
they weren't even from New Jersey.
Yeah, or The
And
Sopranos.
or
That's
the
the other thing
Sopranos.
everybody compares New Jersey to. I spoke with a guy in Scotland when I was promoting my comedy. Um, and as soon as
Oh,
he
that's right. I remember.
yeah, as soon as he heard me talk, he knew. He made a comment about me being from Jersey, and he said he was a huge Sopranos fan. I was like, I mean, I guess I don't have some kind of an accent. Everybody always thinks I'm Italian because I guess the way I talk, but I'm not. I'm everything but Italian, is what I was always told. But yeah, that's yeah. But then going back to what I was saying about the good thing is about you can get from anywhere in Jersey with one because every road is connected to every road. But then what happens is, God forbid, there's a car accident, the whole fucking state shuts down because that one road is blocked and now everyone is screwed from getting where they need to go.
Sure.
So sure as shit not missing that morning commute.
Well, I'd gotten used to it, even though I was sick. And there was a lot of anxiety that probably didn't help my health very much. But that's when I started listening to podcasts
Uh-huh.
like this one.
Yeah.
And so I could make the morning much more manageable by choosing what to listen to on my way to work. And
That's true.
here's another tip. Here's another tip for our listeners. You know what not to listen to on the way to work? An audiobook that you haven't heard before from a book you haven't read before. Because it's a
Oh,
toss up. Do I want to pay attention and be in an accident? Or do I want to have to replay it every 3 minutes of like, what did I just miss? What did I just miss? I
yeah.
tried to listen to Game of Thrones, the first book, Song of
Uh-huh.
whatever it is, Ice and Fire and Tar or something.
Yeah.
And and I was literally from light to light. I'm like, what did he just say? Who are these people? There's like 8 people in the first 3 paragraphs. Like, who are they? I'm trying to picture who they are. And me,
I
so
guess.
you have to be careful.
Yeah,
So
I didn't mind that.
I
Because you
listened
lose
to The
yourself.
Hobbit instead, and I just
Okay.
reread The Hobbit a few years before. Still fairly much in my mind. Great reader. He sounds like Gandalf on a good day, and there you go. I enjoyed that tremendously,
Okay. I mean, I kind of
and a
disagree.
good
I'm pretty sure
podcast
I did
too.
that. I listen to audiobooks because I don't really read books much, but I listen to audiobooks that I hadn't read before, and I kind of because you lose yourself. You do your morning commute so much, you do it. It's muscle memory. You can do it in your sleep. So listening to an audiobook ain't so bad. I never had issues with it.
Well, I just listened to My Life in Parts by Bryan Cranston,
Okay.
which was a very interesting book. He had written it as his memoirs, I guess, sort of, about 2 or 3 years after Breaking Bad wrapped, and he talks about the whole premise of the series and being in it, all sorts of odds and ends,
Mhm.
and the rest of his career. Lots of good tips for acting, and good tips for me for even voice acting. Plus, with audiobooks in mind, I'm listening to all the nuances of like, okay, so in this one, you don't even hear him breathe at all. And so in some recordings, they allow a little bit of sound of breath so that you don't sound like the guy's talking in a vacuum chamber.
Mhm.
If you just
Okay.
hear the voice and dead silence, sometimes can take you out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
So in this case, they just kept the room tone of wherever they were recording, which is probably a studio booth, and his voice, and he was fine. Just a little monotone, I thought, and a little controlled, but that might be him more than the style of what he was writing.
Okay.
Is that he is a controlling kind of person, not in a bad way, but in a I could see him playing Walter White kind of way,
Yeah.
just
Is-
aware of what's going on around him and not overacting.
Yeah.
There was
Alrighty,
some
sir.
good stuff in there. So I listened to that. Oh, is it getting late? Oh, it's
That's
after.
interesting.
Yes, it's
Yes.
getting later.
A bummer about Zoom is that it doesn't tell me how long we've been talking for. However,
We've been talking for an hour and 4 minutes, according to Zoom.
okay. Where do
The,
you see
the
that?
top right of your screen,
I don't see
next
that.
to where it has a view button.
Uh-huh. Oh, if I click.
Depends on what screen you're looking at. If you're on a computer version of Zoom, you'll get a slightly different interface
Yeah, I don't have.
with
It
all the
doesn't tell
bells
me
and
how
whistles.
long.
If you're on a tablet or another mobile device, you'll only see part of the helpful little tools at a glance without having to click all over the
Yeah.
place.
Oh, okay.
Drives me
Yeah, I
nuts.
don't have any of that. So I was just going by the time frame because it's late for me. Time to get to bed and it's a
And I've tied up your time long enough, I'm sure.
no. I was
But I
excited.
appreciate it very
I
much,
was
Mike.
excited
Thank
to
you.
have the free time because again, I could reach out to hey, we were just talking about it, and hey, look, got a few minutes. Let's do this. If I want to do this, I got this happening podcast equipment. I really want to put to use, and I know we've been looking at chat for a long time too, and you've got all your
Yeah,
happening stuff. So we want to get back on the wagon. So
sounds
hopefully we
good.
can try to keep it a regular thing. I don't know if it'll be a consistent time frame, but we'll be in touch to do that. But yeah, another brand new fresh episode of Cube Nerds in the book.
That sounds great.
Yep. So
Almost like a special reunion of sorts after 2 or 3 years and
yeah,
two and
absolutely.
a half years. And thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for sticking around and and doing it.
Maybe
So go
we
ahead.
can tape Bert and then just feed a couple of his lines randomly
Yeah,
into the podcast.
we'll do a third video chat of just a picture of him just sitting there.
And just give him a tape recorder. Just well, they don't make tape recorders anymore, I'm guessing, but
Kind
just
of.
have him just say,
Yeah.
wow,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah. 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 Uh-huh.
just so he can sound like he's here as part of the room tone.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead. Promote that audiobook that you did the recording for.
Well, it's a true crime novel, so it's a basically fiction based on a true crime. It's called Crime Components. The author's name is Renee Winters, and Renee is spelled Rena. So it looks like Rena, but it's with a long A. Renee Winters, and it's Arizona Homicide Tales, Book One.
Awesome.
And right now I'm working on the sequel called Deadly Deed,
Very
um,
cool.
which is out in book form now on Amazon.com or wherever fine ebooks are sold.
Yeah. Audible is where I checked it out.
Yep,
Yep.
as well as iTunes.
Yeah.
So for the or I'm sorry, not the podcast. I was going to say for the audiobook itself, you can get that on iTunes, and in Amazon, you can get either the iTunes, the I'm sorry, the
The Audible.
yes, the
Yeah, because
Audible book
Amazon.
or the Kindle version. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Amazon owns Audible.
Yes, they
Amazon
do.
Amazon owns everything because you can find my comic Championship Wrestling League. Issue number one is available on Amazon and Kindle right now. Complete with the guided view that I had to do myself, so you can go and it goes like panel to panel instead of just reading, full pages. Um,
We should talk about that sometime. Just about marketing, things like that. Whatever you'd like to topic.
yeah.
We should probably change the topic slightly since we're not in cubes any longer,
Mhm.
and maybe think of a nice touch to put on that or a spin.
Yeah, well, I think I know the Cube. Yeah, Cube Nerds is kind of a brand. I like we did kind of circle
Oh
back to
yeah,
talking about work here and there, so it all kind of came together pretty nicely. But yeah, I think definitely like side hustles and shit like that. It's a whole episode you can pack
there
into
you go.
with all the crazy stuff I have going on. I have so much going on. You can go to Etsy and search Pop Quiz Apparel, and there's plenty of pins available there that are awesome pins that we all had a hand in making and putting together. Um,
That's right.
yep, you can follow us on Instagram at Cube Nerds and on Twitter at Cube_Nerds. I don't think CubeNerds.com is up anymore because nobody was going there, so I saved myself some money and didn't renew uh, the.
I guess that makes sense. But our
Yeah,
Instagram appearance is still there.
yeah,
And I've tried to tie in my own Instagram posts with there. So if it's anything relevant to what our listeners or readers might like to see, I'll
yeah.
certainly be able to share those photographs.
Absolutely, and we still have a Facebook page as well. We have a Facebook page. We have a Facebook group called Cube Nerds Unite that I never put in a ton of work on, but there is the Cube Nerds Facebook page that's out there too. So if you guys want to get back into it, you can catch up on all our old content and everything like that. And yeah,
Anything else you want to promote, Mike, before we leave off?
I don't think so. I've got my
Or any other people
comic.
you're following that you want to?
No, you can check out my
Okay.
other podcast, the Mind Your Effing Business podcast.
Oh, that's right. We
Yeah,
forgot to talk about that, and
yeah,
we should
which is
because you're branching out to more than one interest group.
yes, Yeah, that I talked with my friend of mine who's a former United States Marine and a current state trooper, and pretty much he's the exact opposite of me in every way, but we've been best friends since like fifth grade. So it's a very interesting dynamic listening to us talk about all the different topics and interests that we have.
Yes,
Yep.
I've
So,
enjoyed it myself, by
oh,
the way,
thank you
listeners.
for listening. So yeah, you can follow that. Mind Your Effing Business on Instagram. Mind You Are Effing Business on Instagram, and Mind Your Effing Business on Twitter. Mind You Are Effing Business with a Z, because trying to get all these same conformative names and one's too long, one's in use, da 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 da. Pain in the ass. But yeah, it's out there if you can find it. It's available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Google Play. And I'm pretty sure this is available in a lot of places already, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all that other stuff, because we've had it going for a long time.
Awesome
So
listening to it on Spotify. It just was amazing to hear my own voice come back from up.
very cool, right? Makes it seem professional. That's what with great love to the Anchor podcast or the Anchor app, who makes it so easy to
Yes.
podcast and distribute it anyway. And so, yep, which I'll probably throw in. I think there's an Anchor commercial that I can throw in on the end here or in the beginning.
Well, and I'm still growing it, but if anyone cares to visit me at mckinleyco.com, the website is open
Yes, excellent.
and ready for offers to engage me in this or that, or
Yeah.
just contact me.
For booking information, go to McKinley.
Booking information, mckinleyco.com, or just to hear some of the samples that I've recorded,
That's true too.
to
Very
which I should be adding new ones as soon as I can.
awesome. Alrighty, sir. Well, yeah, I think
Okay.
that'll do it. That's another one in the books. We will try to chat again soon.
Thank you kindly, Mike.
All right,
Appreciate
Scott.
it.
Thank you. Have a good night, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you. Be seeing
All
you.
right.